Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, just had a random thought about the idea of some thoughts about first generation Xhosa Prophets, uNtsikana and uNxele. So these are just some random musings, not really systematically thought through, but just some ideas. Now, a bit of context about uNtsikana and uNxele. Ntsikana, let's start with Ntsikana. Ntsikana is well renowned as a Xhosa prophet who worked in about the 1820s, 30s. And one of his greatest prophecies was the idea that kuzawufika abantu bephethe umqulu, or that people will come with excuse me, people will come carrying a book, umqulu, and iqhosha elingenamnxubi, that is a coin. And so his prophecy was that amaXhosa were to take umqulu, which is the book, and reject the coin or money. And so uNtsikana is said to have been entered by a certain spirit, menzuti athi makuthandazwe, so let there be prayer, and but to understand Ntsikana's prophecy and his Christian leanings, you must also look at the prophecy or the prophetic work of one person known as uMakhanda or uNxele, or links in historical literature, whichever way you want to call it. Now, uNxele was a war doctor / prophet. Le ntetho yesiXhosa ithi ulinda ukuza kaNxele is something is attributed to him. uNxele tried to escape Robben Island a number of times. I think he escaped twice, and if I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected. But again, uNxele had, his prophecy was that it was more of a millenarian prophecy, which suggested that if amaXhosa go wash at the at Cove Rock okanye kwilitye likagompo somewhere around East London, then that then and kill some cattle, then they would the dead would rise. So the idea of noNxele is not new, in the sense that it was preceded by uNxele. Now, having said that, uNtsikana's prophecy and his role in his sort of flung into the prophetic role, and sort of was speaking mainly in contradiction to uNxele. So, and he was ridiculing the ideas that uNxele had brought forward. And as we know, uNxele, one of his claims was that he was going to turn, at the Battle of Grahamstown, one of his claims was that he was going to turn English bullets were going to be pretty much useless. He had prepared concoctions for the warriors that would ensure that bullets don't penetrate. But lo and behold, we know that there were some casualties in the Battle of Grahamstown and so on. So Ntsikana's prophecy was partly a sort of a contradiction to that conversation by uNxele. However, that also then continued. But the interesting thing about both characters is that if you look at their history, they both have traditions, and they both have settlements. They have spent some time in their youth under the pupillage of one Johann van der Kemp, Johann van der Kemp was a London Missionary Society missionary. He was the first to set up a mission among amaXhosa, particularly amaNgqika at the time. I think it was about 1799 to about 1802, thereabout. And so uNyengane or Van der Kemp uNtsikana, during his early stages, during his boyhood, uNtsikana wayikwekwaya komkhulu, milking inkomo zakomkhulu, ngokutsho kwembali. Now uNtsikana was one kulapho adibene khona, or it is where he encountered Christian teachings through the London Missionary Society, or through Nyangane. And so that's when his ideas around prayer developed. And so his prophecy must always be understood, and his prophecies must always be understood in that light. Now, similarly, noNxele or uMakhanda, naye is said to have spent some time in Bethelsdorp. Now, Bethelsdorp was a mission station that Van der Kemp had set up in what is now Gqeberha. Yes. So both of these Xhosa prophets, their message was really a message that was formed or formulated around the ideas they learned from Van der Kemp and Christianity. And so that is it. It is no surprise then that in later years, in the 1810s, 1820s, which is when they kind of shot into prominence, in those later years, what had happened, it is no surprise that they make these prophecies that have all these Christian motifs. So the idea of resurrection, as evinced in the as we can see in uNtsikana's in uNxele's prophecies, was something that in Nugabelungu, or something that reeked of Christianity. Similarly, the ideas that uNtsikana was prophesying, that there are people coming with incwadi, we must accept Christianity, and so on and so forth. Now, another interesting thing to note is that by the time both these prophets prophesy, and by prophet, I'm using that word in the sense that a prophet, in the sense of a prophet being someone who speaks of future times to come, and not particularly as a person, not as a prophet, a person who speaks truth to power. So these prophecies are particularly laden with these Christian motifs, and they have served as, for the first generation of Christians, they have served as the bedrock upon which they've galvanized them. Abantu abamnyama have galvanized themselves around to see we also have prophets of old, in the sense of uNtsikana, in the likes of uNxele. And again, these prophets, and these prophets have been really been a very interesting kind of conversation within Xhosa history. So when we think about the uNxele and uNtsikana, we must always identify and understand them as prophets who had spent quite some time under the influence of Ureed, not only of Van der Kemp, and his successor James Reed as well, uNgqongolo. So we must understand the Christian influences that kind of manifest themselves in the prophecies of these people. And we must also, furthermore, not only understand that, but we must also understand that their prophecy is some form of sort of a syncretic mix of trying to understand this encroaching world that is changing through colonialism, but also trying to make sense of how do black people understand their spirituality in light of in the face of a new religion. So these are some of the conversations that we need to be thinking about and how we understand them. But what is more interesting for me, particularly with the prophecy kaNtsikana, uba kuza abantu and who will take our land, and kuza abantu abamhlophe who will take our land if we do take iqhosha elingenamngxunya, as it were. I mean, by that time, this prophecy was, Amaxhosa were very frequently used to interacting with the likes of Kunrad Base and other Afrikaners, Boers who were in the eastern parts of the Cape at the time. And so one can only wonder, Uguti, what is the value of a prophecy about the future, foretelling the coming of white people? Or was it perhaps a foretelling of, say, um, the 1820 settlers and the colonial destruction that would follow their arrival? And so these are some of the conversations and nuggets of thought that we need to wrestle with in unpacking and understanding the history of uNxele and Ntsikana. And on that note, thank you very much.